Welcome to Transform with TAS. I'm your host, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, also known as Dr. TAS. This show is all about transformation. How do you transform your recipes? How do you transform your life? So we focus on feeding the body as well as feeding the soul. So every episode you'll find me in the kitchen, which is where I love to be, transforming a recipe from something that's good, that's not so good for us, to a healthier version. At the same time, I will have interviews with noteworthy individuals from across the country. And what I want to do with them is glean from them how they were able to transform their lives so that you have the tools that you need because you've got individuals who've done it. They've walked the walk that you're trying to walk. So I want you to be encouraged. So we're going to feed the soul through those interviews, and we're going to feed the body through the food. Well, today, let me tell you, we're going to do a little cooking with banana pudding. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but we'll find out in just a moment. We'll get cooking. Well, today we're going to make banana pudding. I must tell you, my mother, when I was a little girl, she made banana pudding from scratch. Now, this is one thing I'm not going to make from real scratch, meaning she made that custard. And I had to stand there over the eye and just keep stirring. Because if you didn't keep stirring, the custard would begin to stick. And nobody wanted banana pudding where it had stuck, because, that was going to be awful. But what we're going to do today is we're going to assemble this, and it's still from scratch, but we're going to do it the working girl's way. So what I have is 2 bananas. Now, I don't know how these bananas are going to turn out because they are real soft, but we're going to work our way through it. And because they are so soft, I am going to put on some gloves because they really kind of mushy, but I don't want to say that. But before I do that, it's like, and this is the way it is when you're doing live TV or live shows with live broadcasts, social media. I need some milk. And I forgot to pull the milk out. So we're going to go over here to my refrigerator and we're going to get some milk. And here is the milk. Now, what I've already done is I had to wrap this up because I don't want to lead you to buy something that I perhaps shouldn't. But what I've done is I have already combined in here, in this bowl is some banana cream pudding, sugar-free of course, sugar-free. And I've also put 2 scoops of vanilla protein powder. Because I've had gastric sleeve surgery, I have to make sure I consume a certain amount of protein. So what I've learned to do is anywhere that I can add protein, I add protein. So I add it just about everywhere. I also added in here a teaspoon of cinnamon. That's what you see. And I also put a cup of artificial sweetener. I wanted to with that because people said, you put a cup? Yes, because artificial sweetener, it's not as potent. And I know what they say the equivalent is, but I don't really think it's that equivalent as it comes to the tasting of it. And so with my food, I eat so little, I have to make sure it has a taste. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add 2 cups of cold milk because that's needed for the pudding portion. So I'm going to pour up 2 cups of milk. Now I will say this, my milk has protein in it. Because like I said, I add protein everywhere I can. So I'm just going to pour in here 2 cups of milk. Okay. So we got the 2 cups of milk. Now, I felt a little something. I don't know how you want to explain that something. I felt something today. And I said, I want to try something different. I'm feeling, because I've been making banana pudding, and every time I make it, I change it. But I'm like, I want something different. And so what I decided I was going to do was I was going to add a little pick-me-up to the banana pudding. Now, the custard part. Let me tell you, this is called cream, Irish cream. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, just Google Irish cream. I just felt like I needed a little Irish cream. And so I poured up, that's a half a cup of Irish cream. And so as I'm mixing this, because, when you're alive, I may not need what I think I'm going to need, but I've just poured in here 1/4 cup of vanilla flavoring. Now you may say 1/4 cup, yes, because I got to be able to taste the flavor. I'm not going to use vanilla wafers, so I've got to really be able to taste this custard. And so what I'm going to do, there's a little bit left here of my cream. So I put that little drop in there. And so I'm going to stir this because this should begin to thicken. And I don't want to add just yet my other liquid because, who knows? It may not thicken, but it should thicken. It just takes a little moment for it to start thickening. And it really begins to set once it's in the fridge. Now I've done banana cream, sugar-free banana cream, and maybe pudding before, and it sets up pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do is, while this is setting, I'm going to move this to the side because we've got it mixed. And if I decide I want to add some more liquid, then we'll add some. I'm going to take my gloves. For those of you who were with me last time, my mother, when I talked to her, she was talking about you might need to put on some gloves. That may not sit well with them. And I'm like, she is not here, and she's trying to direct my show. But that's how Mama is. Now, as I said, my bananas have gotten overly ripe. They overly ripe. But I don't believe in just throwing away things that could be used. I didn't feel like making any type of zucchini bread or anything like that. I wanted nana pudding, as they would say. Now, it's so mushy. Now, understand, I realized that it's kind of mushy. You see it's mushy. So I'm peeling it slowly so I don't lose all of the banana or that meat there. But what I decided to do, because my bananas are on the mushy side, I decided that I was going to add texture. And so I'm going to add texture with walnuts and pecans. So that's where I will get the texture, because the bananas, oh, this one might want to peel nicely. They kind of on the soft side. So we're going to do it like this, okay? They're on the soft side. So we're going to have to be real careful with them because they just going to mush right up. But this is a good thing in a bad sort of way, but a good thing. It's good because bananas have a lot of sugar. And so the fact that they're now getting softer, that means that sugar should be really percolating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this here. I am going to use animal crackers and a protein cookie that I found. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to layer the animal crackers. Let's hope I got enough. We're going to layer the animal crackers. Now, Mama wants me to use my gloves, and I'm going to use my gloves only because those bananas are really, really soft. And I don't want to have to run back and forth to the sink washing my hands. I wash my hands all the time. And when I'm cooking something, I can go through a roll of paper towels because I've got to make sure my hands are clean. They say what cleanliness is next to godliness. So, I just got to make sure. Now, I'm taking my time kind of dropping these animal crackers. You don't have to do them that precise. I'm just dropping them here. I really want to cover the bottom. I just want to cover the bottom. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is, attempt to do, is put some bananas here. Now, As you see, they kind of mushy, but we're going to use them. Okay? And because they're sort of mushy, you see how that is real soft. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them on the thicker side. So that way they'll kind of hold their shape. Okay? This is what you call learning to adapt. Learning to adapt. Because sometimes things just don't go your way. But you can adapt. See how that one want to pull apart on me, but we're going to adapt. Because you've heard me say that I've added this extra protein. The most important thing for me really is the pudding. Because that's where I have put the extra protein. So the bananas, they are not the main star of this dish. Okay. So we're going to put a few bananas here and there. And because I'm going to try to do at least 2 good layers, we're going to see how that goes. I'm going to not put any more bananas there. We're going to go back to my pudding and see how my pudding is doing. Oh yeah, it's beginning to set up. It's beginning to set up. And I don't think I'm going to add any more liquid. I'm afraid if I add more, oh yeah, it's beginning to thicken. I'm afraid if I add any more liquid, it may not thicken the way I want it to. Okay? Now I know somebody said, won't you just add another container of cream, a banana cream? But I don't think so. You know, I'm looking at this. It's thickening, but I'm going to make a decision as we go to break and come back whether or not I may need to add just a little more sugar-free banana cream. I'll have made a decision when we come back from break. I am excited to have a conversation with Shane Etter. Now, I just usually say Shane Etter, and hopefully I'm pronouncing the last name correctly. And I met Shane, thank you, Shane, through a mutual friend. And I got to hear his story, and his story really resonated with me. And I want to say that he is a Southern boy. And I know people say you're saying boy, but boy means a good thing for us Southerners. And I'm really proud.
I said, whether I fight it or not, I am one.
We're going to embrace it today.
Okay.
Southern is good. And he's currently living in Georgia. And I'm not far from Georgia. I'm in North Carolina. And so even though we hadn't had a chance to connect before today and communicate this way, I feel like I know you. And so I want my audience to get to know you also. So first of all, Shane, I want you to give them a little backdrop about who you are and what you do, because some may not know.
Well, as you alluded to, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. It doesn't get much more southern than that, but I was born with spina bifida. As you know, I don't have any outward signs of it except for the large scar on the base of my spine where I was operated on at 6 days old to remove that growth. I've never had any physical manifestation of it, no problems. In fact, I became a black belt in karate through 6 years of hard work. I made black belt in 1979, and even being born with spina bifida, so it didn't slow me down. And I was a board member. I was on the board of directors of the Spina Bifida Association of Georgia for a couple of years as well for a term, and enjoyed that immensely. But and like I say, born in the early 50s, 53, like I was in Mississippi, they didn't know anything about spina bifida, even though it's the most common birth defect in this country, probably, maybe in the world, but anyway, in this country. But nevertheless, the doctor who delivered me performed my surgery, and God guided him as he hopefully will guide me today so I don't mess up too badly. And he was successful, removed that, and I went on. At 50 years old, I had a near fatal stroke. That did affect me physically. I have my left leg weakness causes me to drag it, a somewhat significant limp or something. So my karate days were over, and about 6 years after my stroke, I noticed my brain was going through some changes. We all would like to think that our brain improves at an angle like that, like a 45-degree angle going up, but it's more like up, down, like that. And I knew that my brain was going through some changes. So anyway, we always hear that the best thing you can do for your brain is to read. Well, I've been a voracious reader virtually my whole life. And I figured if reading was that good for your brain, writing would have to be even better, creating new words on paper or on my iPad in my case, rather than just reading ones that are already there. I started writing to improve my brain, and a funny thing happened. 12 pages into my first novel, I knew it was good enough to be published. Because again, I was such a reader. I'm not saying it was the best thing I'd ever read, far from it, but it wasn't the worst thing I'd ever read either, which means it was somewhere in the middle, and that was good enough to be published. Better than some, worse than others. And so I started sending out queries to small presses, and their first step is if you catch their eye in what you send in those 3 pages that they read, they usually say, well, send me the full manuscript. And that's the next step. So you send them everything. And the first time that happened to me to this small publisher, it ended up being mine. I was thrilled that he asked for the full manuscript. And then I'll never forget on Thanksgiving. No, that was on Thanksgiving Eve. He said, on Wednesday, Thanksgiving Eve, I got an email from him and said, send me the full manuscript. He said, if you hadn't heard from me in 3 months, follow up with me. Well, in February, I got a letter from an email from him, said, we would like to welcome you into I won't say the name of the publisher, whatever, publishing house, family of authors, and here's a contract. 9 novels later, I'm working on my 10th. My 9th will be out in the next 2 to 3 weeks, probably. I'm with a different publisher now. I'm on my second publisher in this 9 years, which just, my first one was in outside of Houston, Texas. And like I said, I'm in Atlanta with one of the largest writing clubs in the largest writing club in the United States. I said, why am I going to Houston for a publisher? There's got to be one. So I just sought out Atlanta publishers, and I found a new one just so I could be. I never met my old publisher in person since he was in Houston, Texas. My Atlanta area publisher, we get together for lunch regularly and see each other and talk on the phone or text, and so have a relationship that I think works very good for me. Last year and this year, a nominee for Georgia Author of the Year. I did not win, but I was thrilled beyond words, honored to be a nominee for Georgia Author of the Year, considering, as I mentioned, that 2 of the people I was up against were Iris Johansson and Karen Slaughter, Karen with an I, who both happened to be from Georgia, and they were up from Georgia Author of the Year. And I'm sorry, this is the mystery detective category. There's several genres, and I was up against them. So to be considered amongst those greats was just phenomenal. So
you've given the audience now, they now have what I knew. So now I can begin our conversation. Excuse me. I want to back up a little bit. You moved from Mississippi to Atlanta or to Georgia. Now, prior to becoming an author, what type of work did you do?
I sold computer stuff.
Okay.
And I think anybody would like to know specifically what I sold. I could go into that. I can still talk that stuff, but I have no desire to do it.
You had a traditional job,
but
at some point you were able to take your love of reading, retweak it because of the stroke, and then take that focus, that laser focus that you had, and discipline because you're a black belt, and then began to write. Because I think it's remarkable that 12 pages into your first novel, you knew that it was good enough to be published.
Don't tell Cyrus I said that, but you need to be my publicist. You just described me perfectly. Don't tell our friend Cyrus I said that.
I won't tell him.
Because we know he's going to see this.
Exactly. Now, you write in the mystery detective arena, a genre, I should say. And, you know, I've looked at some of your titles: Bottom Dwellers, Mind Dwellers, Trail Dwellers.
Well, easy for you to say.
I mean, really, it's almost like a tongue twister here. Bottom dwellers, mind dwellers, and trail
Well,
dwellers.
dwellers. I'm sorry, I had to say.
We're not gonna give the stories away, but how did you settle on that term?
And I asked a friend of mine sitting at Starbucks, happened to walk in. I said, looking for what would go well with bottom, people living on the bottom of the lake. He said, bottom feeders. And I started to go with that. And I went, no, they're not eating when I'm talking about them or anything. I said, dwellers. It just popped into my head. And it worked with mind dwellers and trail dwellers. So the first three that were a series. So.
Yeah, because it's just, when I look at it, it's like, it's such an interesting play on words. And then when I looked at a brain in third person, how did you come up with the title A Brain in Third Person?
Because I describe myself and my brain being at odds all the time. I talk about my brain in the third person. I don't say, I don't like this, or I don't like something, or I like what. I say, my brain doesn't like that. I do, but my brain doesn't. I'm always talking about my brain in the third person since my stroke. And one night I was at a local piano bar in North Georgia, and I said, boy, that would be a great name for a novel. A Brain in Third Person. So I came up with a title, and then I had to write the novel that supported that title. My girlfriend tells me all the time that men aren't nearly as good as women at connecting dots.
T.D. Jakes preached a sermon years ago, and I don't even know what the sermon was about, but he says one way that men are like God, he says that it takes them 3 days to basically have an opinion about something. He's like, ask them a question, and you're waiting on them to give you the answer. They don't have an answer. So the woman moves on. 3 days later, 3 weeks later, 3 months later, the man comes back and said, when you asked me about such and such, I've been thinking. And the woman's like, what are you talking about? I don't even remember. When you asked me about what we should do about X, Y, Z? And so I said that to someone, and they just laughed at me. So when you say that your girlfriend says that you don't necessarily connect the dots, I'm just not going to say anything on that. I have no comment. I will tell you this. I've done a lot of things in my life, and I worked in medicine, and I also did private duty. And so I know a lot about a lot of things. And so understanding not everything, but what can happen with a stroke as it relates to the brain, and then the brain or the body in third person. I know how people sometimes refer to like a limb or a part of their body that doesn't.
Or my leg hurts. Yeah.
Yes.
My brain, that's different.
That's different. And so when I read it, A Brain in Third Person, but we know that your brain is functioning very well. You've written 9 novels and getting ready, writing in your 10th novel. So we know your brain is functioning very well, but it is different now because the stroke would have sort of rewired your brain. And so A Brain in Third Person, I just thought that was a wonderful title. You were a black belt. How do you think having that discipline impacted your recovery from your stroke? How did it help?
Well, the black belt itself had nothing to do with it, but karate. My neurologist told me I was still in the hospital. Excuse me, I was still in intensive care, I think. And he said, if I hadn't been in such good condition, my stroke would have been a lot worse. But then he told me later, the only way it could have been worse is if I had died. So, yeah, I had a near fatal stroke. Excuse me. So being in good condition saved my life at 50 years old when I had a stroke. And that still influences my life now. I mean, my existence, the way I look at things.
How do you balance work, pleasure, and the man? How do you balance that?
Well, I'm working the last week or so because I'm having to go back and forth with my publisher to get edits done and changes done on the manuscript that I sent him that will be published, like I say, in the next couple of 3 weeks. That's work. Writing fiction, that is not work. I mean, I get to get up every day and just have fun with my writing. I mean, that isn't work to me. And like I said, I've already told you, I think before we started officially the interview, I'll write at my favorite coffee shop in the mornings. My favorite watering hole, my favorite wine bar. I'm a wine snob. My favorite watering hole, piano bar in the evenings, or, you know, just about everywhere I go, because I write on an iPad, which is very unobtrusive and small, and most of the time, nobody will even know what I'm doing. They just think I'm, you know, playing on the internet or something.
Is there a connection between your utilizing your 5 senses in your writing as well as utilizing your 5 senses in your everyday life, given the fact that you're post a stroke?
Yeah, that is very profound. I mean, if my brain wasn't functioning at some sort of high level or good level at least, then yeah, my senses wouldn't even work. And I've never thought about that. And yet, like as I had mentioned earlier, my mentor told me years ago to try and describe all 5 senses in every scene. And he's a 2-time Pulitzer nominee. Jedwin Smith is his name. I'm going to give plugs very hard. Jedwin. And he became Jedwin because his name was John Edwin, and he signed his name J. Edwin, and a young nephew or something couldn't say John Edwin, so he started calling him Jedwin, and it stuck. And he's older than I am now, so he's Jedwin. It has been for, I don't know, 50, 60 years. But anyway, my mentor, he's the one who said describe all senses in every scene. And I'll take it to a different level, to someone everybody knows, Stephen King. Stephen King said setting is another character, and therefore should be described like a character. What does the setting look like? What does it sound like? How does it smell? How does it taste? Everything. Describe a setting, everything about it. I do that with every setting. Fortunately, I write books that are set in interesting places, I think, so they're interesting to describe. The bad thing is, or maybe the good thing, is I need to put feet on the street to describe these settings. So that means I have to go to Oxford, England, you know, to be able to write a story set there, which I did. I have to go to Japan to be able to, that same story to move from England to Japan. And I have to go to Napa Valley, wine country, you know, because the story then moved to Napa. Now, I don't know if the story is influencing my travel, or my travel likes are influencing my stories, but nevertheless, I have to go put feet on the street in those places to write about those places. And so that's what I have done. And it's fun too.
Well, now I'm going to go ahead and put my plug in, shameless plug. I love to travel. On your next trip, if you need somebody to carry your iPad, I'll carry it for you. I love traveling abroad. My passport's ready to go. Just let me know. I'll just go right along with you. I'll even take care of my own accommodations. But at least I would have someone to share that fun time with, and also to see your mind, your brain at work as you absorb all of that culture through the 5 senses.
You probably wouldn't want to see that. My brain is a scary place.
And, you know, and that's the wonderful thing about it. That's the reason I say it's not really an interview. Sometimes I use interview, but it's really a conversation.
Sure,
I think like we're just sitting down in my kitchen and having a cup of tea. You said that you were a wine snob. I poured you hopefully some good wine. And
hopefully, yeah.
Wine.
I don't drink the cheap stuff.
Oh, okay. Now, for the audience, now he said, what he's really saying to me is, Dr. TAS, if the wine is cheap, don't serve it to me. I hear you. I hear you. If you could give maybe 3 pieces of advice to someone who wants to write, who thinks that they can't do it, what 3 pieces of advice would you give them?
My goodness. Well, start today, because I couldn't do it either the day I started. I just started. To start, Read every good author you can get your hands on. I mean, I have my favorites. I have too many favorites to name. I probably have a dozen favorite authors. Of course, we could, right off the top, mention best friends, John Grisham and Stephen King. They are best friends, which is, to me, is surprising, but they are nevertheless. John Grisham and Stephen King. And how about J.K. Rowling? I think now, oh my goodness, I'm a big Harry Potter fan. And J.K. Rowling, read the best you can read. And I say I write every day. There's no question about that. You ask me how long I write. It depends, because to me, to be a good writer, I have to do equal parts reading. So if I write 6 hours a day, then that means I'm reading 6 hours a day, because that's the only way to improve your writing. And I read some of the greatest living authors, and the old guys too. I just say guys because that's the word. But Vonnegut, Updike, Elie Wiesel, Damon Runyon. I mean, I'm throwing out names that you're probably too young to even have heard of most of those, but some in your audience are probably as old as I am, and they know those. But yeah, I try to read the greats, the Updikes, the Vonneguts, the Wiesels, and that's the best piece of advice I can give anyone. Never stop reading, number one, and read the best. And I'm talking about fiction here because that's what I write. And I couldn't write or read nonfiction. It would just bore me to death. But anyway, read the best writers you can find every single day and try and emulate it. Well, every book that's ever been written, every book that's ever going to be written has already been written. So all you can do is put a different twist on it. You have no original ideas. Okay, so don't worry about that. The other thing that kind of goes hand in hand with that is bad writers copy, good writers steal. So steal from those good writers. You see a word they used instead of whatever, use a $3 word instead of a 25-cent word when you can, because Updike and Vonnegut did. That's a great thing to do. Read the best of the best, and read every day just like you write every day. That's the best advice I can give. And that's the advice my mentor gave me. And like I said, my mentor is a 2-time Pulitzer nominee, so he knows what he's doing. So
now, you've mentioned your mentor to me off camera and now on camera. How did you guys connect? Because I know there are people out there who are looking for mentors. You've told us that you're friends with Stephen King, John Grisham.
No, I met Stephen. I didn't say we're friends. I said
I'm sorry. You
I
met.
don't want to meet anybody.
Okay, but how did you meet your mentor?
So I met him through the Atlanta Writers Club, and he accepted me in one of his writing classes, and that was, oh my goodness, 8 years ago, and I'm still with him. So
it's amazing to me how a little boy born in the 50s with spina bifida grew up middle class in Mississippi. You correct me if I've got it wrong.
You were right on so far.
Then in 1979, you became a black belt.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
And then, growing up in the 60s and 70s in Mississippi, moving to Georgia in the early 90s, selling computer stuff, then, having this near fatal stroke, and how it totally transformed your life.
No doubt.
Totally. And to me, just to see your progression, your journey, it's amazing.
I've got to give credit where credit is due. God took care of me. I'm a believer, and I personally, this is my own take. Nobody's ever taught me this or anything. I don't believe God makes bad things happen to us. I think life, living, karma, whatever you want to call it, just being causes bad things to happen to us. I believe God brings us back from those bad things that happen to us. In my case, bringing me back from my near fatal stroke. I get tired of my limp, my weak left leg, but it could be a lot worse. I could be in a wheelchair. God has taken care of me and brought me back from my stroke. He gave me this kernel of talent that I have, and I call it a kernel because that I work hard at my craft. And I'm going to, I thought you were going to ask this a few minutes ago and you didn't. So I'm going to say it, the connection between karate and writing, I think, is a strong one because writing is an art. Karate is a martial art. All fighting, they call them fighting arts. Karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, kung fu, Kali, Filipino stick fighting, anyone you name, they are martial arts. And writing is an art. So I think my many years in karate helped my writing. I think we used to, no, I can't. Well, it takes a level of intelligence to do martial arts well. I'm being very nice in the way I'm saying this because we didn't used to say it this nice. It takes a level of intelligence to do martial arts well that not everybody has. It's because it's an art and because it's very inward focused in your brain. Not everybody can do martial art. It's not like just going out there and wailing on somebody or something. No, you're performing an art. And that ties to the art of writing in my humble opinion. So I write every day because Christmas will inspire me to write a Christmas scene, in my work in progress. But so it does require discipline, and I am disciplined. I know that. But a good imagination, discipline, and a better than average vocabulary, I think, are the main qualities a writer must have. And then just do it. Like I say, read, read, read. You lit up when I mentioned J.K. Rowling. I mean, my goodness, Harry Potter. Those books were a waste on kids. Why should? Yeah. I mean, I just can't tell you how much I enjoyed all the Harry Potter books. In fact, when I went through a divorce that was not my choice, we were trying to split up stuff. I told my ex-wife, I said, you can have basically what you want, but I want all the Harry Potter books and all the Harry Potter movies on DVD, which we have. So I don't know how much that cost me to get those, but I had to have those because I should have taken the money and gone and bought them myself because I would have gotten more money then. But nevertheless, I'm just being honest and frank with you here, like we would talk in a conversation, over a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or a glass of wine. This doesn't seem like an interview to me because I'm too open and I'm too frank. But yeah, that's what I did.
Well, like I said, Shane, you have deposited so many words of wisdom into me as a writer, because there's a piece that I've left out, and I'm gonna be honest. I don't make the time that I need for reading. I love to read. I've read since I was a little girl, and I have to start reading again.
You are probably way busier than I, though, and I know you are. But that's the commitment I had. I felt like I had to make was to read every day. If I'm going to write every day, I'm going to read every day. That has to happen. I need to get back to reading now. So sorry, I'm taking control of your show, but.
Well, that's okay. Obviously, you, as my sister and my mother would say, you must be somewhat related. This is an inside joke. I'll end the joke just like that. They know what I'm talking about.
Okay,
so thank you so much, Shane, for being with us today. And how can folks stay in touch with you?
Facebook, I'm on there. Shane Etter, Etter. Twitter. Every social media platform you can imagine, I'm probably on there. So I would love to hear from them and for them to say they heard me on your show so I can make the connection and be thrilled to hear from them.
All right. Well, thank you again, Shane, for sitting down and chatting with me today. And to our audience, please reach out to Shane. You're going to love the novel, so especially the trilogy. And again, thank you, Shane. And until next time, everybody have a great day.
We're back from break, and my it's just so tricky. You see now how it's trying to thicken up on me, but I just feel like it's not going to be thick enough. So I am going to add to this. They say don't try this at home. I'm going to add some more sugar-free pudding, but this is cheesecake. I know we're making banana pudding, but we're going to add a little cheesecake flavoring pudding to this. And now this will allow me to add a little more water because I really needed some water to help dissolve the protein powder that I put in there. So now what I'm going to do is, and I'm greedy. What do you mean she greedy? I'm going to pour this water into the little dish that had the Irish cream. Then I'm going to pour it back over here where I had poured up the Irish cream. I measured it in that. And now I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup at a time because I don't want my pudding to be too loose, but I don't want it to be too thick. I don't want it to be too thick. So we're going to mix it. We're going to mix it. Do you guys like banana pudding? Do you call it banana pudding? Or do you call it pudding? Nana pudding? What you call it? My sister, my middle sister, she made a banana pudding once that was just out of this world. Yeah, she can cook too. And it's really good. It's very rich. You know it's not low fat, nor low calorie, and it's not sugar free. So, but it's good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit more water. I'm going to pour up another 1/2 cup, but I'm not going to add it all at one time. Okay? We're going to add about 1/2 of that. And then we'll see where we are, really about 1/3 of it. We'll see where we are because in theory, I need it. But I kind of feel like, given the fact that my bananas are really ripe, that I've got to kind of walk between having just the right consistency with the pudding to make sure that it all holds together the way I want it to. So what we're going to do now, we're going to put this over here and we're going to let it continue to do what it needs to do. I'm going to go back to my gloves because you know Mama have a fit. Did you wear gloves? Did you wear gloves? So we're going to do gloves. And what I'm going to do is I am going to now put a few of my walnuts in these little empty spaces. Like I said, you can never do it wrong. Well, should I put walnuts? It's whatever you want to do. You know, things don't always just go perfectly. So you learn to improvise. Okay, so we're going to put a little walnut there. Now I'm going to grab some of these other cookies. At the next break, I may have to get some more of my animal crackers because I may be running out of crackers. See, I misjudged how much I was going to need space-wise. But I don't need as large a container, but I may need it because of the pudding. But we hadn't gotten anywhere yet, so we're going to see. All right, I put that down. Now we're going to go back, add a few animal crackers. And like I said, during the next break, I may have to get some more crackers because I don't think we're going to have enough. I use animal crackers because they're not that sweet. You know, young children start out, a lot of them start out eating animal crackers. And so therefore the sugar content is not as much. Now I can hear somebody say, no, the sugar content's not that high, but what about the carbs? Well, there's going to be some carbs. I'm sorry. It's going to be some carbs. But my nutritionist told me that you got to eat some carbs. And so I said, really? She said, yeah, you got to have some. So what you have to do is limit your carbs. Am I going to eat all of this by myself? Absolutely not. There is no way. I will give some to my neighbors because this is not something that I can just give to my family because my family is not close enough. So to make sure that it doesn't go bad on me, what I will do is I will give some to my neighbors. And that will help me to make sure that, well, see, that one's not as bad, that things are, I don't eat all these carbs, just to be honest. I don't eat all these carbs. I do not eat all these carbs. So we put a little of this here. I know you're saying, my God, this is looking kind of messy. It is, but let me tell you something. I believe it's going to be good, though. What I want to do, I'm going to do some pecans because I felt a little pecans were needed. As I said, once I saw my bananas were so ripe, I'm like, you got to have some sort of texture. And that's one reason why I'm adding a little extra to my pudding, because basically this is banana pudding when the bananas are really, really ripe. And so that's not sure what this is going to turn out to be, but I know it's going to be good. The reason why, because we've got vanilla flavoring and we have Irish cream. Now let me see how my pudding is thickening. Oh yeah, it's thickening. It might be a little too thick on me. Oh, it might almost be a little too thick on me, considering what it's going to have to do. So I'm going to pour the rest of this in here. I'm not going to put any more water. I'm not going to add any more water, okay? Now you may say, why did you add water? I added water because I used the protein powder. I'd already added 2 cups of milk. So I'm adding water. I grabbed a few more animal crackers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour everything at one time. So we're going to finish layering up. And this dish is really almost done. I'm going to put some more animal crackers down. And as you can see, I'm not being fussy about this dish. You know, I found sometimes the best dishes are the ones that you don't get pretentious with. What I mean by that, you don't have to be so particular all the time, because I am very particular. But we're just going to layer this. I'm going to move us through this. We're going to put these bananas here that are very, very ripe. Because this is the last of them. Oops, we don't put that one on top of that, but at least we'll do that. Because I believe just about every bite, somebody at least get one banana. You can't have everything in life. So we got one little banana left in here. We're going to get him. He's trying to hide. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He just fell apart on us, but that's okay. So we've used those 2 very, very ripe bananas. I'm just going to go ahead, sprinkle the rest of my pecans here. Get that out of our way. I'm going to go back here now, and I'm just going to spread the cookies. I'm not going to be fussy about them. I'm going to take the rest of the cookies, and we're just going to move them all over. I'm going to grab some walnuts. Just going to spread my walnuts. And we're going to see what we've got here. Okay. We're going to now pour our pudding. You know, this is live. She says live. It's live. Now the question is, do I want to add a little water? Because I want to make sure I got enough pudding. Let's just see here. Take this knife. And what I'm going to do is kind of make sure that pudding gets in between them little crevices there. That'll get in between the crevices. Get in between the crevices. Now know that the longer this sits, these crackers will break down. The animal crackers and the cookies will break down. Now I see that we're getting in between the crevices, but I'm gonna do a little old trick. I need to see, oh, we're not getting in between there like I want. I need to make sure that the pudding is really getting on the bottom. Sometimes I will layer with a little bit of pudding on the bottom and then I'll start layering. But I didn't do that this time because I wasn't quite sure if my pudding was the way I wanted it. You remember I added some cheesecake, sugar-free. I have put all of our pudding into our casserole dish, and just because I got them here and the fact that walnuts are high in protein, I'm going to just sprinkle these last ones over here because, again, we need some texture because basically we've got a few really, really soft bananas and we've got some crackers that are going to get soft also. We've got the protein cookies and then we've got animal crackers. So what I want to do is I'm going to call Mama and let her know that it didn't go quite the way I anticipated going. And we'll give a little taste test while I got Mama on the phone, if I can get her on the phone. Because, you know, she lived a busy life. She's just so busy. Let's see if we can get her on the phone.
Hello.
Hey, Mama.
Hey, darling.
How you doing?
I'm good, girl.
Can you move away from all those people? That's a lot of background noise. I can't have them on the show. What you say, isn't it though? Yeah, that's a lot of background noise. Yeah, because I'm going to put you on speaker. I can hear all that background noise. You on speaker now.
Oh, no. What's she going on about that Christmas time?
You hear my sister in the background trying to, this is real life. This is real life. I want y'all to understand how it be. My sister said she going on about that cooking show. Now she know I'm cooking. And she know I'm taping my segments. And now she know I'm going to be calling. And look, like every time I try to reach Mama, she's always at the house. I just don't know what's going on with this. Now let me tell you what I did, Mama. I made banana pudding. And my bananas were so ripe. They were it was almost mashed potatoes. Yeah. I know. I know you would say I should have just let that go and got something else. They had almost turned to mashed potatoes. So what I decided,
should have made a smoothie.
I didn't want a smoothie, Mama, but I did add protein powder, so I could have made a smoothie. So what I did was I used, of course, the sugar-free banana cream, and I added my protein powder, and then I went back and added some sugar-free cheesecake pudding. But I also decided, you know, in addition to adding my milk, and I put some vanilla flavor because you know how that is with me. Oh, and I put some cinnamon. I decided, you know, some people say they be feeling freaky or I don't know. You know, my sister could tell me what the word is. But anyway, I needed a pick-me-up. So I decided to add some Irish cream. You know what I'm talking about? You said, do you know what Irish cream is, Mama?
What is Irish cream?
Why you be saying, you don't know what I'm talking about? You don't even know what it is. Irish cream. So I added some Irish cream. It's a liqueur.
Okay.
You with me on that liqueur now, right, Mama?
Yeah, I think that's what you were talking about, something in that.
Mama,
In that range when you said you need to pick me up.
Oh, okay, Mama. Yeah, it's Irish cream. I can't tell you the brand that I use, but it's Irish cream.
Okay.
So now, even though you're not here, and I'm told them about how I had to keep stirring your cream, your pudding when you used to make banana pudding from scratch, and I had to stand back there and stir. Well, you know, I didn't make it that type of scratch, but I did put all this together. So I thought in honor of you, I forgot to tell you, I added, or maybe I told you, I got walnuts and pecans too. I didn't chip them up, you know, they're whole because I needed a crunch. And so I've just assembled this. Now, of course, it's going to get softer. The cookies are going to get softer. I use animal crackers. They're going to get softer once it's finally set up good. But I wanted to taste it with you in honor of you and the fact that I had to stand there. Keep stirring. Don't let it stick. Keep stirring. Because
Don't let it stick. Yes.
since you used to be yelling that at me, well, I shouldn't say yelling. Yeah, you see, you agree. Yeah, you be yelling that at me. So I thought I would taste this with you on the phone. So I'm going to taste some now. I'm going to try to find some of these soggy, with these mashed potatoes, bananas. But since I can't find one of them, I'm just going to take the pudding and I'm going to take, that's a lot of background noise over just your house. I'm going to take the pudding and I'm going to eat a walnut.
Okay.
Good God Almighty. Mama.
Oh, boy, I'm glad it's good.
Mama, mama,
I
mama.
wish I could taste it.
Mama, I tell you, honey. You know I can't duplicate this. You know, the person that
You
I
can't
community
you
said,
can't do it again. No,
you know,
can't
I
do
often
it again.
imitate it, but you can't duplicate this.
you
This
can't duplicate
is good. And the Irish
good, huh?
cream is good. It's not too much. So once these animal crackers and these little protein cookies that I got in here, once they start to break down,
Uh-huh.
and this
Oh,
pudding,
it's really going to be good, then.
honey, please, and that pudding
It's really gonna be
continues to thicken. This is good. This is good. This make you want to do that little stuff with your shoulders and everything. This is good. You know, ooh, it's good.
Oh, boy. I
It's-
can use that little pick-me-up right now.
You need that little pick me up. Well, I tell you, I try to get you some. Well, I'm gonna tell you, who knows? I might have to pop up at your house with some of this because this is good.
All right,
and
then.
I do want you to taste it. So this is not your banana pudding, as folks would say. But I tell you, with this little pick me up, you don't even miss the fact there's no sugar. So, Mama, let me go ahead. No, ain't no sugar here, Mama. You don't cook with sugar.
Oh, yeah, no sugar. Oh, yeah. With no sugar, we need that little pick-me-up in there.
That Mama is crazy. Said with no sugar, you gonna need that little pick me up. Yeah, because there's no sugar, Mama. And you know I use
sugar,
my
you
milk.
need that pick-me-up.
And you know you can use fat-free milk or 2% because you know my milk, I've always liked fat-free. And you like, why you drink that fat-free? Because I like it. So, yeah, you're right. With that fat-free or 2% milk, you need a little pick-me-up. Okay, well, I'll talk to y'all later, Mama.
Okay, then.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, you've heard it from me and Mama. This is good. And once this pudding sets and these animal crackers and those little protein cookies start to soften, I'll really be doing that dance then because then it will just have blended together and it's going to be good because it's good now. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Transform with TAS. I hope that you like the banana pudding or the nana pudding as we sometimes refer to it in the South. And I hope you also enjoyed the interview. If you would like to be a part of this show, you can be. If you would like to send me a recipe, all you have to do is send me a recipe to transformwithtas@gmail.com. Put in the subject, recipe. Make sure you include your name, first and last, your city, and your state, and include the recipe. And I will be happy to take a look at your recipe and see if I can transform it. And you never know, your recipe may be chosen to be a part of the show. As always is my sign off. You cannot take care of anyone else until you learn to take care of you. So as always, make sure you take care of you. Bye now.